Everybody, welcome back. This is Inside Fitness Radio presents Total Fitness Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew.
I'm Walter.
And today we have a very special guest on the show with us today. This is Alexia, and you might recognize her as the face and the cover model of the 2022 Hot and Fit 100. So we would first like to thank you so much for coming on the show and give you a little bit of background to the listeners about who you are. And then again, nobody wants to hear us talk. They want to hear you talk, obviously. So Alexia was born and raised in Toronto. So, same breed as us. She has been in dance for over 23 years now, various styles of dance. She has a background through the Ryerson School, performance dance, did that program, got her BFA in dance. So very athletic for pretty much since the age of 5 or 6 or something?
Five.
Like 5, yeah. So there you go. Very heavy in that, in the athletic sense. So not only that, but she has been all over the world, basically, with dance. She has performed throughout Toronto, at the GTA, numerous provinces across Canada, as well as countries like China, Qatar, Singapore, as well as the Bahamas. So I'll kind of leave it there for now because there's so much that we do want to talk about and we want to hear more from you. So why don't you kind of introduce yourself, say hello to the listeners, and let's just go from there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to sit here and share a little bit of my life with you. First of all, winning Hot and Fit 100 this year was such an honor, and I'm still blown away and trying to take in how much of a blessing it is to be given this platform to share a little bit about what I do, as well as share the pages with so many other incredible, deserving women. Even the women that did not get in this year are absolutely so inspiring. I submitted to get into Inside Fitness Hot and Fit 2 years in a row before that. I got in as part of the 100 and I was just blown away. I couldn't even believe it. I didn't even think I really had a shot, but my friend pushed me to do it. My friend and photographer, Kevin Kataku, he's wonderful. So shout out to him for shooting with me and getting me to do it. But, training this time, I set a goal for myself every year around the time that was to prep for Inside Fitness. I set a goal that I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to make this special and make really something of it. Mm-hmm. So I started submitting, and this time around it was crazy because during COVID I still managed to train through everything in my basement, just using what we had. We had a stationary bike, a few weights, and resistance bands. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna do this. I'm not gonna stop. There's no pulling me back. But we got in after that, and I was super happy about it. And then this year, I was so tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. I was, from the moment I got in the year previous, I was so tunnel vision that I was like, this is happening. I just put cover in my mind, and every time I showed up to my training, there was no other option than cover in my mind. And it was a cool little goal. It's just something I looked forward to.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
I was very excited. So it just goes to show you, if you put your heart and soul into something, mm-hmm. you manifest it into your life and then take inspired action to make it happen. You can make it happen for yourself. I think the problem lies in a lot of people, including myself at times in my life, not believing that it's actually possible for you. And that's the problem.
Yeah. It's so funny you mentioned that because I've literally just finished the book, The Secret, which is about manifestation.
Great book.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this talk is very much, I just read it and we're talking about it, but it's very true. I mean, I don't think people realize how many people apply to the Hot and Fit. It is hundreds of women are putting their name in that pool every year, and it's not an easy task. And, Walter and I were talking to Terry about this, and, Terry being the CEO and one of the, I guess you could call head judges, it's not easy to find somebody through hundreds of people that is inspiring, is is good enough to be the face of Inside Fitness for that cover. And here you are, and you've done it, and it's just an incredible accomplishment. So again, it's amazing, and we just want to say congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but what I do want to ask about is, you kind of mentioned it, COVID. Obviously, being in Toronto, the biggest issues that you probably had to deal with in training. Now, we have talked about this so much, and we have clients coming to us all the time asking, like, how do I stay motivated? How do I keep training? Now, you obviously had that goal in sight, but there must have been days that you didn't want to train. So kind of bring us through that.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge because I love having the gym as a source of motivation. I love being surrounded by the community of people. It's very inspiring to be around that, but it's just adaptability, learning to go with the flow. And I think something that my career has taught me is learning how to adapt on the fly. Because when you're a professional dancer and you are showing up to an event that you've never been to, you don't know what the stage is going to be like. They tell you, like, in rehearsal, they'll tell us, they said this is the dimensions of the stage. So then we choreograph everything and plan to the dimensions of that stage. And then you show up and there is no stage. You're like, well, this is different. We're performing on concrete today. Wonderful. Adapt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So you just have to. You have to adapt to get the job done. So I applied that same concept to my training because I can't stop training. Because for me, if I stop training, I know my mental health severely declines. So for me, that's a non-negotiable. Aside from keeping up to it to keep myself limber and strong for my career, it's maintaining my mental health on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's very, very important to not rely on motivation alone because it's here one day, it's gone the next.
Yeah.
So I always try to connect to a deeper why of why I do anything in life. But having a strong why with your health and fitness is so important because sometimes having a goal to lose or gain weight is simply not enough to really push you through on the days that are so hard. Because, oh my gosh, there were so many hard days.
Oh, yeah.
So many hard days. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I was perfect and I did everything right. And it's always easy that's not the case. I'm a regular human being that struggles with motivation and getting out of bed and all the regular things. It's just knowing and having that deeper purpose to really push you through and kick your butt. And I really believe in having a strong approach and being strict with yourself, but also being nurturing.
Yeah.
And adopting a balanced lifestyle. So I had to become very forgiving with myself in the sense that if I didn't do everything perfectly as I planned out or wanted to do, or didn't hit all my goals for the week, you have to give yourself forgiveness.
Yeah.
In order to, like, move forward and really grow. Because when you belittle yourself over and over again, it's a form of abuse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I always say to my young students, would you allow someone to talk to you the way that you talk to yourself? And many times the answer is no. So let's not do that. Let's reframe. Let's reframe that self-talk so that we can treat ourselves like someone we really care about and love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the big things you said in there, and you kind of did address it, but hopefully we can go a little bit more in depth. It's the why of fitness. And you've been in fitness for a long time. So you basically started at the age of 5, and throughout your life, the why will change. So I kind of want to work backwards a bit right now, because your why right now, if you don't mind, just explain a little bit, what is the why right now? And what was the why when you started in 2017, you started your movement? And what was the why when you got into dance in university? So what is the why?
There were so many whys. Okay. So let's go from youngest Alexia
To oldest.
and
Okay.
build.
Okay.
Okay, the why. Dance, from the very first moment I guess saw it happening in front of me. My why was joy. It completely and utterly mesmerized me. I remember like the first memory I ever have of it was my mom and I used to bring my older brother to piano lessons. And when we were waiting for him, my mom would always take me for a walk around the conservatory, and there was this dance studio. And I just remember looking through the glass doors and seeing the dancers dancing and seeing the tutus hanging on the wall and the bodysuits. And there was like photos of point shoes. And I was just in awe. And I would always ask my mom if we could go walk to see the dance studio. And then I would beg her. Apparently I think I was like 3 or something. And I would beg her to dance with them. So she said, okay, when you turn 5, I'm gonna take you to sign up at a studio that's like closer to our house. And I was like, okay. So, and it was from the moment I started, it just made me so happy. You could see looking back at old dance videos that I was just so eager to be there. And it's so wild that young kids can remember steps and show up and just be so brilliant at such a young age. And and you don't even really know or understand what you're doing. It's just your intuition and your true talents coming through, shining through you. You can't even explain it. You don't have enough of a developed analytical mind to dive into why you're doing it. You're doing it because it makes me so happy. So at the age of 7, I was asked to join the competitive team. And I started dancing competitively, like 5-6 days a week. It took over my entire life, but it got me through so many chapters of my life that were very difficult at a young age. My parents divorced when I was 12, and there was it's a lot for a child to go through that. So to have a place that was constantly healing me was so beneficial for my overall development and well-being. It took me all throughout high school as well. There's lots of challenges through high school when you're growing up, and there was parts of me that wanted to, be a teenager and not go. And I almost quit. I almost quit at one point. And I remember saying that I didn't want to do it because I wanted a social life. And I didn't go for a month back to the studio, and the studio owner started calling me, or my mom, the teachers. I had my aunts calling me, everyone needed to like have a talk with me, because they're like, I don't think you understand like the magnitude of what you're doing right now. You have a gift. You need to keep going, and you don't understand how much joy it brings you. Like, you will have the rest of your life to have a social life. This is part of who you are. And it is so deeply rooted in who I am, because I remember at a young age even saying to my mom, I don't know how to be without dance. Like, I don't know how to express my emotions without movements, because it was something that would just constantly heal me. It was my outlet. Like, art heals. And it is so true, because I was the living testament of that. Like, I felt it. Like, I would dance through my breakups. I would dance through joyous occasions. And I just knew that it was something that I couldn't leave behind. So I went back, and thank God I did, because then when I was graduating high school, I was like, hey, I have different routes I can go. And I knew that Ryerson was something I really wanted to do. So I auditioned, and York was the other option, but I remember them at Ryerson telling me, like, you really need to come here. So I was very shocked when I got in. We started off with a class of like 45 dancers. We graduated with like 20. Yep. So it was
not
it was
an easy
wild.
program. I went to Ryerson. I remember walking past one of the dance rooms every single day, like the lower level of, I can't remember the street, but and it was just like, there would always be like 5 or 10, and I'd come back like 3 hours later, and it was the same group of people just practicing the same steps over and over. Like, it's an intense program.
It's so challenging.
Yeah.
But at that point, my why was I need to develop my craft if I have a chance in heck at doing this as a career.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of trying moments, but they definitely shape you up to send you out into the professional world. I was very lucky. I trained with so many talented dancers and instructors. We even had an opportunity to work with the actors there. And if any of you have seen the movie Aladdin, the live action film,
Mm-hmm.
or Lock and Key. So my friend Liza de Oliveira is in Lock and Key, and Mina Masood, who's the main actor in Aladdin, was in our same year. So we dancers were very lucky that we got an opportunity to work with the actors, and they worked with us. And it was just this beautiful exchange of sharing our crafts and learning from one another.
Yeah.
I feel very proud to come from
awesome.
that same program.
That's amazing.
Thanks. Thanks. Okay. So I've been talking so much.
No, but this is great. This is what we want.
It's great, though. And honestly, it brings back a lot of memories for me. Hearing you talk that way makes me think about my schooling and the school I went to and all that stuff. So it's great. The joy that you express talking about it is the amazing thing that it's coming through. So
the emotion that you have is, because I also DJ, I produce music, I've been drumming, I was in fashion design when I went to Ryerson. The art style that you talk of is like, I couldn't express myself for, excuse my language, for shit. I had very bad depression when I was younger. And one of the greatest ways to come out of that was expressing my way through art or listening to music, making art. And the way you talk about it, you can tell how big of a part of it, of your life it is, and how dedicated you actually are to it as a whole. And that makes the why you're doing it so much stronger. And I mean, I'm inspired listening to you. So, you know, as a teacher, like where you are kind of now, I mean, it must be so fulfilling to be able to express these same emotions and see it as you're developing people through what you're doing now.
Yeah. It's been an unreal roller coaster of a career. And my why, after I started dancing and traveling and doing everything professionally, my why again shifted to, okay, you have certain longevity as in a dance career, of course. So my why was like, what am I going to do after this? There's this fear that starts to come inside of you. And I wanted to be able to prolong my artistic journey for as long as possible, but also blend it into my life and who I was becoming, and something that would help me grow and heal as well. So the thing with having a professional dance career is when you're on a high from doing what you love, you're on the highest of highs. Like getting paid to travel, to dance in front of thousands of people that are smiling, that's like, it's like an ecstasy like no other. It's just the most beautiful experience. Or to know that I've been a part of so many people's wedding days, like it's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So the highs are the most exciting and wonderful. However, there's many uncertainties with this career path. And there's many times when you are out of work. And I remember having professors telling me or telling us at Ryerson, you know, there's going to be days when there's going to be long dry spells when you don't have any work, and it's going to be a struggle to pull yourself out of bed. Mm-hmm. And boy, were they right. So I also had experienced a breakup with, you know, my high school sweetheart. And when you go through any sort of heartache, any sort of loss in your life, it can feel debilitating. And then when you're dealing with uncertainties of work, not knowing when your next paycheck's going to come in, it's very scary and it's very overwhelming. And I had fallen into a bit of a heartbreak depression, or I was experiencing surfacing old emotions from my childhood. There was like a lot of generational trauma that happened. The men in my family all suffer from some form of a mental illness. And I always knew that I wanted to be able to help in some way, shape, or form. I'm like, if I can learn things that have helped me, that have made my path easier, that have made my brother's lives easier, I just want to be able to do something. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not some perfect Zen guru, but I just want to take all my skills that make me me and create something beautiful that I can take forward and share. So I started reading wellness books and self-development books, and I became obsessed with them. And before I knew it, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this program, and I'm going to take it to schools, and I'm going to give students the things that they didn't teach us when we were in school on how to cope with specific emotions that we have, common emotions that we experience from the human condition. And I decided that I wanted to create I Empower Movement. And basically, it's a wellness and empowerment program that I developed that has something for the introvert and something for the extrovert. I feel like we're very multifaceted as human beings, as individuals, and our training needs to be just as dynamic and diverse as we are. So I combined meditation and movement into a class. So I would meditate with my students. I would talk to them a little bit about mental health. And many of them, it's the first time they're ever meditating, especially because I've worked in some elementary schools and some high schools. So a lot of them didn't even know what meditation was. So it's a gift for me to be able to share that with so many young kids. And then I would move them into fitness portions, get their blood moving, get to feel those endorphins, get to show them some basics of, squats and just very basic things to get them going, to help them improve their heart health. And then I would, challenge their minds a little bit and teach them a dance combination at the end to really, really help them express themselves and have fun. Because that's what I would do at home. I was like, what helps me? And it's having a solid foundation, having meditation being part of my day, moving my body, and then doing something creative to help me express myself, to help me nurture myself, and to really, really spark that joy on another level. So that's I Empower Movement.
That's incredible. That is honestly so amazing.
Thank you.
With the movement now, with COVID and the situation, obviously, were you experiencing some difficulties trying to translate that from the lockdowns, and where is it kind of standing right now? Because I know you mentioned you're doing a bit of the virtual stuff now, and there's other means that you're kind of you're not necessarily always in person and doing it the same way as you were doing before, but what was some of the difficulties with that even?
Yeah. So I'm really not a technology person. So I'm very old school. Like, I love being in person. I love feeling the energy of students. But once COVID happened, it was like, okay, how do we restructure? What do we do? Where do we go from here? And I was like, what is the main problem right now? What could most people be facing issues with? And I think that's mental health. Being very isolated for such a long period of time. So I wanted to be able, I knew meditation was like the most important part that I wanted to be able to offer. So I started doing that on Zoom with clients one-on-one. And that was something that I really was enjoying for a while. And I was also struggling a lot too with my mental health. So it's very challenging to be pushing yourself to live your truth and help others while you're struggling yourself.
I'm not laughing at this statement. I'm laughing because Walter and I have literally the past 2 years has been that.
It's been a wonderful chance to grow through the experience, but constantly having no, you can't do it that way anymore. No, you can't do it that way anymore. And I'm feeling down because of that, while trying to be positive for my clients. And it has been extremely growth promoting. I mean, I have to look at it that way. The best thing that's come out of it is that I've grown in many, many ways through the challenge. But what a couple of years this has
been. One of my favorite things that's come out of this, or like a quote that always reappears and we talk about all the time, is COVID was not our fault. Nothing in life, some things are obviously our fault. But a lot of the times we can just be the victim of a situation. Whose responsibility is it to make the best of that? And it's not yours, it's not hers, it's not his. It is your own responsibility to grow out of that situation. I think having to deal with something that does truly impact almost every aspect of your life, there is so much growth that can come out of that, and so much you can learn from that as well.
Yeah.
It can be difficult. The thing that I had to deal with was the feeling of guilt.
Yes.
How can I say something good came out of COVID when so many good things came, but so much bad came out at the same time? And there was a feeling of, is it bad to say something good happened? But I think we all have to find as many ways to look at the bright side of this situation as we can.
Yeah.
So I got over it. But initially, there was that extra piece of difficulty.
Yeah. For sure. It was such a challenge, and it still is. I find there's also repercussions of everything being shut down for such a long time. I find that I was able to handle so much more of a busy schedule before COVID. And now my schedule is less busy, and I'm finding it difficult to keep up mentally sometimes. Like I'm experiencing like cognitive overload like much quicker than I would have before. So I think there's going to be a readjustment period back to our new normal. And it's important to give ourselves grace time and time again as we're readjusting back into a new phase.
So one of the things that I got into was the meditation that helped, because my phone was the only constant, I guess you could call it, in my life. And to get away from that stress of constantly being like, oh, there's so many people doing so much better than me, using their time wisely, and all the bad news, obviously, that's coming out of this, and people are upset and people are angry, and meditation was that one way I found out. So how did the meditation side of the business, like how did that evolve for you throughout, especially COVID, but even for now, like how are you promoting that throughout your lifestyle and through your movement?
Most of what I've done has been pretty old school. It's been through word of mouth, and then friends of friends will pass it on to the next person. I tend to keep a pretty intimate circle, but right now I'm in a phase where I'm trying to grow that more. I'm working on with someone one-on-one to develop a website, which is a bit of a challenge for me because technology, I see it and I'm like, oh my goodness, it overwhelms me so much, but it's fine. We're working through it. We're growing, we're adapting. But it's just been such a beautiful process to share that with the young ones. I have a student she's 10 now, but when I started working with her, she was 9. But it's so nice to see the work that you're doing resonating with someone so young.
Yeah.
And I just think that this is a skill. Meditation is a skill that we all need to be taught. at a young age. It's like a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
People ask me,
Absolutely.
how often do you think you should meditate? And I had one of my first instructors teach me that we should be meditating as often as we brush our teeth. Why? Because if we don't brush our teeth, decay is going to start to build up and then infection eventually. The mind is the same. Meditation is the mental hygiene of the mind. When you wake up in the morning, our levels of cortisol are like at its highest. So it's important to tap into the brain right before that analytical mind starts to wake up. So interesting little tidbit, like when you first wake up, for the first few minutes, the prefrontal cortex stays dormant just very quickly, where when you're waking up and you're in that foggy dream stage. And it's so important to hack into your mind at that moment and start feeding it something that will nurture it, that will help you set yourself up for success for the day. And then slowly, you start really diving into your subconscious and unlearning thoughts that don't serve you and replacing them with thoughts that help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what most people do is they pull out their phone. And that
I heard
is
something interesting recently saying that would we let 100 people walk into our room first thing in the morning? And the answer would be no for most people. I'm assuming that would be
analogy.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we allow hundreds of people and emails to flood into our mind right before we're even able to handle it.
Yeah.
And that could have a serious negative effect on our mental health overall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's how many people listening? I mean, you could ask yourself this question. If you open your phone first thing in the morning, you get a text from your coworker, your boss from overnight, and they're saying, you need to do this, or this wasn't done properly. The only thing on your mind for that day is, crap, I need to rush to get this done. I probably won't have time for breakfast. I got to rush to the office. And you're just in a rushed negative state. And that emotion carries over the entirety of the day. Yeah.
And then once again, self-care is put on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And still for many people, their physical health is on the back burner, unfortunately, because of the way that like their circumstances, or they're just so busy, they don't have time for it. But it's just like, if we don't take care of our health now, we will pay for it later. It's the same thing with our mental health. One of the things that I strongly believe in with I Empower movement is preventative mental health care. Taking care of our minds and nurturing our minds before it starts to feel like it's too late. It should be a daily practice that is non-negotiable because of the fast-paced society that we live in. It's absolutely crucial for us to do that in order to handle what life throws at us and the rapid speed of information which life is thrown at us. I mean, meditation doesn't only help us find peace and stillness and ground ourselves in the present moment. It helps us off the mat too in our everyday lives. It helps us improve our focus, our attention span. It helps us combat distraction, which is something that we're so addicted to in today's society.
Mm-hmm.
We're just we're addicted to practicing that constantly. Think about how many things we can do at once. I could be watching a show, talking to my mom, and texting someone else at the exact same time. So we're never actually truly present in moments.
Yeah.
And they say that we are our happiest when we are truly present doing anything. So having the opportunity to take our mind and train it to come back to the present moment constantly. So meditation is a retraining of attention. So it's helping us bring our mind back to the present moment so that we can fully experience our lives and joy and people that we love. It helps us connect to our intuition. It helps us connect to, when we're stuck in moments and we don't know what the right thing is to do, truly we're conflicted. I feel like meditation helps us connect to our higher selves and knowing really what the right thing is to do or which route to take.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And to me, that's it. It's the connection to the higher self that happens with meditation.
Yeah.
And it can happen all day long if you let it. It just focus on the right things. It doesn't, for me, involve sitting still so much as opening my mind to the good in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, riding my bike is the best way to do it, right? But I've had to learn things like don't turn on the phone first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a book would be a better distraction.
Yeah.
Breakfast instead of scrolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great, like, applying mindfulness to your life. I am a certified meditation and mindfulness instructor, and I'm so happy that I learned about mindfulness, and it's really an acknowledgement of the thoughts that you have, how frequently you have them, and learning how to guide yourself mindfully in everything you do. Like, even a simple task like eating. You could be eating a meal, but you're not even really present with the meal and the food that you're consuming. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you're just like wolfing it down because you got to get to your next appointment or something at work. Whereas it could be such more of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Actually paying attention to the sensations you feel on, like, what a strawberry tastes like, and really appreciating the flavors and appreciating, like, the fruits of the earth, and how lucky we are to actually have that fruit, and how lucky we are to have a body that's actually able to eat it and digest it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really helps you sit down and sit in a place of gratitude when you are mindful of the way you do things and why you do things.
Absolutely.
It also really helps you understand, like, your own flaws as a human. And we all have flaws. And I think it's important to, like, not acknowledge, it's important to acknowledge that and be like, okay, so this is what we're dealing with, and we're just going to grow from it. It's important to, like, acknowledge what bothers us, and because if we ignore our feelings and we ignore our bad habits, you have no way of growing from them, right?
That's it.
So it mindfulness helps us call ourselves out on our own stuff and be like, hey, we didn't do too well today, but we're going to aim a little higher tomorrow.
Examining the day at the end of the day and going, okay, so what exactly happened? What did I do? You know,
why was I a train wreck?
Yeah. It's not enough to say I was a train wreck. Why was I a train wreck?
Yeah.
Why?
How did this happen? And how can I avoid it again?
One of the biggest issues we have is we don't ask ourselves questions anymore. We just accept what is presented to us as okay, this is the way life is, I guess. This is the way I have to deal with it at work. This is, and one of the biggest things, as you're saying, with mindfulness is understanding where those thoughts are coming from and addressing them, so you can become and again, you mentioned it, it's, you brush your teeth every day, it's a thing, and you can still end up with a cavity, you could still end up having to need a root canal, but it's that consistency that is going to build over time. So again, it's not a one and done. Fitness is never a one and done. Exactly. It's not.
I'm so glad you said that it's not one and done. And I think changing our relationship with how we see happiness, like, happiness is not just like this end goal that, like, once you get there, you're going to stay there permanently. That's not what happens. And it's this up and down thing that we experience, and it changes, and you could be happy one day and then something traumatic happens to you and you're going to experience a low of low. But it's about learning and building habits that you can fall back on to help you heal and get yourself back to a place of experiencing happiness again.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoying the texture.
Enjoying the texture.
There's no texture. What is the point?
Yeah.
Exactly. And what is the point if you're not able to enjoy things like habits in your life, or family and friends? That's the other thing. Mindfulness allows you to develop your connections with others better. It helps you sit back and really take a breath instead of being reactive. It helps you analyze a situation, I think, a little bit more thoughtfully.
Yeah. One of the One of the biggest things that people do is, do you listen to what somebody is saying, or are you waiting for your turn to talk? If you're mindful about it, you will listen to what somebody is saying. You'll give them a second to finish their thought. You process it, and you can speak back to what they're saying. Mindfulness isn't just for you, it's for the community that you have in front of you. You're building more than just yourself up. When you build yourself up, you are building a community. And I truly believe that the more you work on yourself, the more you have the ability to affect change in others.
So true. It's
Exactly.
an absolute ripple effect. And it's a beautiful thing to understand. This is another thing with I Empower. It's so important to understand how much power you hold and how much power your energy holds, and that you have the opportunity and the ability to change someone's life for the better or for the worse. When you walk into a room, the energy you bring into a room is going to shift the energy around you. Or if you keep your energy very small and you just become a consumer of others' energies, you could just be absorbing what's around you, negative or positive. But I believe in strengthening up yourself, your mind, body, soul, so much so that you emit your energy out into the world and you change the situations.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that with being a performer. Everyone always told me, like, you can really see that you love what you do when you're on stage because your smile is so big. And I'm like, I know. I can't hide it. Like, it just makes me so happy.
But it's also, I mean, the old adage too with dancers, if you make a mistake, just smile bigger. Because the energy you give out will hide, and nobody's looking for an error. Nobody knows the choreography.
Yeah.
But if you show that you know you've made a mistake, everyone will know.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because segue into a fun little story. I did have a setback in 2019, I believe it was. I was on my way to perform in a magic show that I was in. Yes, I was an illusionist assistant. I've had a very fun career.
That's
so
great.
I know how to disappear, reappear, get cut in half. Yeah, it's a fun job. I do miss doing magic a lot. So I was on my way to do a magic show, and I was hopping up onto a curb to get out of the way for a cab that was turning into a driveway. And I go and I hop up. I thought I was being like a good person getting out of the way. And I like rolled my ankle and I felt it snap back. And I was like, oh, that was weird. I've sprained my ankle a bunch of times. So I was like, I thought it was just that. I'm like, okay, we need to get on the subway. We need to get all the way to Milton. So I start walking into the subway and I felt my foot swelling up in my shoe, and I started getting really hot and nauseous, and I felt like I was going to faint. I was sitting on the subway the whole time with this feeling, but I was like, in my brain, I was like, I got to get to the show. I ended up getting all the way to Union Station, realized, stop being a hero, because I almost fainted going up the stairs that I had to walk up. And I got to some cell service. I called my dad. I was like, Dad, you don't understand. Like, I need you to bring me ice, and I need you to bring me to my show. And he was like, oh my gosh, you need me to bring you to your show? Do you need to go to the hospital? And I was like, I need to go to the show. Long story short, I danced on that broken foot.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was purple and blue, but the show had to go on because I knew I was the only one trained on those illusions. We had called another dancer to come. She danced all the parts that I couldn't, that were heavily dance-based, and all the parts that were the illusions, it was me, because it takes way too long to train someone on the timing and intricacies of illusions. But yeah, I smiled through that whole thing.
Oh,
I smiled through that whole thing. Then I went to emergency after, and funny enough, it was my birthday at midnight. So I welcomed the age of 27 with a broken foot.
Happy birthday. There you go.
Lovely.
What a wonderful present to yourself, eh? Oh, that is
horrible.
Wonderful. So moral of the story is, don't be a nice person when somebody is trying to turn into a driveway.
Yeah, just stand there and let them stop.
Oh, wow. But that's it. You got to smile through some of the pain sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But,
and stuff happens. You have a setback like that, and then you get right back up again.
Yeah.
as you did.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
And it only strengthened me further. I feel like every time I came second place in my life or third place or lost completely is what pushed me to win this cover. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to become second again. Like, this is happening, and it's going to happen for something that really counts and something that I really want. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that this was a time that I came first. I feel like I'm so happy that life threw me a win after everything I've been experiencing recently. So I'm so grateful.
And I would have to say too, even just by talking, I mean, obviously when you got announced, we researched you and we looked up what you were doing, but even just talking to you, you are probably the most deserving person of that cover based on just, obviously, yeah, sure, it's you look the part, but just your background and the way you speak about things and how inspiring you are as a person. And yeah, obviously
but that's it. I mean, the win is not just for the look. The win is for everything else that you bring. Mm-hmm. The fact that you are able to empower others and give an example to others is a large part, I'm sure, of the process of choosing you.
Yeah.
You know, so you're perfect place, perfect time.
Thank you. And I truly believe in trusting the timing of your life. And when the wins don't happen, that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It just means it's not your time yet. Mm-hmm. So every time that happens, it's so important not to stop training, not to give up completely because you feel like a loser or a failure or whatever our sad narrative is sometimes. It's just important to keep going, keep growing the skills, keep working on what you can change and improve on until you get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so much more of a sad story if you never try. I think about all the people that are so talented that are too afraid to share their work with the world.
Yeah.
And it's just what a waste, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and I just truly believe that the universe puts us each here with an intention and a purpose. And we're all walking miracles. Literally, I know that sounds so cliche, but we really are marvels. Mm. And it's so important for us to tap into that purpose and find out why you're here and work on what makes you and spread that with the world.
Yes.
Because I'm sure there's a million people doing something similar to what I'm doing. I'm not some Einstein that you know, I didn't reinvent the wheel here. I'm just doing it in a special way that I know how to. And no one's ever gonna do it the way I do it. No one's gonna ever do it the way you guys do it. Mm-hmm. That's what makes us so special.
I think that's what people forget to realize is there's only one Alexia. There is only, well, obviously there's more, but there's only one you. Your experiences are your experiences. Nobody has lived it the way you have lived it through your minds, through the physical space, and that is what makes you special. People will come to you because of what you have done, the life you live, the wisdom that you can give based off of that life. And I mean, one of the saddest things is exactly that. It's the people who are just not willing to try for fear, I guess you could call it, a failure.
And I'm not perfect. I definitely have let fear take over in moments. And I've definitely let fear talk me out of situations and make me lose out on opportunities. But again, it's all lessons learned. I think it's so important to honor all parts of ourselves and the parts of ourselves that still need healing and nurturing and development. Those parts still make us beautiful.
Yes.
The icky parts of us that we want to hide from the world, that we're ashamed of, it's like, that's what makes us who we are. And that's what helps be a driving factor in the success story. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm much more interested to know about how someone came to be versus, you know, just let's say the material things that they've accumulated.
100%.
No, I'm not really fazed by like cars or mansions or fancy outfits. Like I want to know why and how someone came to be. That's what really inspires me.
100%. Well, one of the big questions we always like to ask, 30 seconds to a minute. You can take your time to answer this if you need to. But basically, just in 30 seconds to a minute, what is one piece of advice that you could give to every single person listening right now? Not an easy task, but put you on the spot.
One piece of advice. I mean, it's tough because we just spoke about this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an opportunity to learn how to be present, please take advantage of that, because our time is so, so valuable. If you have that little thought, that little dream, something gnawing at your mind, something that keeps pushing you to want to come to life, please bring that thing to life. Even if you're afraid of failing, just try. Because even if you fail, it's better than not trying at all and never knowing.
Yeah.
And one of my whys is really, I want 95, 96, 97, 98-year-old Alexia to be content with the life that she lived, or as content as possible. And I would love her to be independent and, kicking some ass. And that's my strong why. So if you can find a strong why, that will help you propel yourself forward in whatever you need to do, and just keep offering yourself overwhelming amounts of love and kindness. But don't be afraid to be strict with yourself, because we all need a little kick.
That is
sometimes.
love and kindness. Strictness can be love and kindness.
Yeah.
But with, yeah.
There we go.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yes.
Any last questions there, Walter?
No, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, everything, including the thought of the 95-year-old, is amazing, because that's my thing, right? I'm like, we're going to live a long time.
Yes.
Let's make life juicy, right? So don't be afraid. Do the things you have to do. So this has been so great.
Yeah.
You, and I just wanted to thank you again for deep insight, experience, and for some memories that you brought back for me of places that I loved and things that I did in the years past. So thank you for that.
Yeah, seriously, truly, you've been so inspiring. And I just, again, thank you so much for applying to be on the cover, putting yourself out there for the world to see. Because obviously, as you said, you need to put yourself out there to reap the rewards and spread your message. So thank you so much for doing that, and B, just truly inspiring. So thank you so much. And where can everybody find you? Like where's the social medias? What is it that you would like to promote? Obviously, we'll include the links in the bio. But what is the main page that they can find you on?
So my main page for my Instagram is just Alexia Monardo, ALEXIA MONARDO. And then my I Am Power account is iampower.mvmnt. And websites will be soon to come on there, but they will be linked to those accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
And again, if you guys do want to check her out, again, we can just put the links in the bio, so you can just click below. But again, thank you so much for being on here. Congratulations once again. And truly, I too would love to have you back on and talk more in depth about other subjects if you're willing to do that. But and I'm sure so many people listening would love to as well. So again, let's just say goodbye for now.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate. It's been an honor to talk with you both, and I'm so happy that some of the things that I shared resonated with you deeply, and I'm just grateful for the time with both of you. You both seem like incredible humans, and I hope that our paths will cross, and absolutely, I would love to come back anytime.
Amazing. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can drop them in the comment section below. You can message us. Our Instagram handles are below. If you have any topics you want us to cover, by all means, let us know, because we're not perfect, and we gotta start doing more research on other things.
Yeah, put some water in the well so that we can give it back to you.
We've been pulling some subjects just off of worldviews right now, and you know, it's just how it is. But again, if you guys have anything you want us to talk about on the show, by all means, let us know, and stay safe, guys.
Stay breezy.
Take care.